training. None of us had left the house either, but that could have been because the house itself was being a bit protective these days. It wasn't that we couldn't get out, it was just that the house didn't like it. Still, maybe I should be encouraging Zero to get out a bit more. He'd shown more sign of emotion in the last 3 days than I'd seen from him in the last year, and I didn't want to break him. It's pretty hard on a bloke when you try to encourage him to stop stifling his emotions and then something like this happens. What about the vampire? Well, Gingell had mostly been making himself available as a sort of self-warming pillow ever since the house became protective and inclined to shut itself off from the outside world. All right, not so much the whole world as a part of the world. A very specific part, a very specific person. The king of behind, in fact. It would have been nice to be able to catch a breath before the next shock, but it's hard to do that when the flamin' king of behind wanders down your street, pinpoints your house, and gives you back a book you only remember losing when he gives it back to you. A book that has your name written in it from one day when you weren't as obedient as you ought to have been. It would have been nice to think it was just a kind of, "G'day, I'm the king. Nice to meet you. Here's something that belongs to you." But he'd had my book. He had taken the trouble to find me and give it back to me. There was no way he didn't know I was an Heirling too. But if he did know that, why hadn't the king tried to kill me? I crossed my legs under me where I was sitting on the kitchen island bench in self-defence against a living room that was still too athletic to be comfortable sitting in. I said to the fey wall of furious polishing and bright knife points that was Zero, "It was a threat, right? Giving me the book was a threat." "Of course it was a threat," he said briefly, testing the balance of a knife and laying it neatly next to the others. "What else would it be?" "Dunno, but why threaten me when he could have killed me?" Zero's voice was cut glass. "He couldn't have killed you. I'm surprised he could even see you." "Yeah, that might have been my fault," I said with a touch of gloom. "I saw him walking along the street looking for something, and he stopped at our gate. I said hi first." "He shouldn't have been able to find us in the first place," Zero said. "That wasn't your fault. He shouldn't have known about you at all." "Yeah," I said, my gloom deepening. "That actually probably was my fault. In my defence, he was in an alley reading a book, and he told me he was a librarian." Zero's eyes closed for a brief moment. "Pet." "That was the day I texted you to come get me," I said, and added half-heartedly, "So you can't say I didn't tell you I was in trouble." "Pet." "Who is at fault is not a question," said a voice impatiently in Korean. Between, doing its usual helpful best, translated the meaning directly into my mind. As it did so, a slender figure stepped up from the living room and into the kitchen and dining room, preceded by a waft of perfume. Gingell. Not my owner, like Zero, but just as much of a pain in the neck, and more because he's a vampire. Far too beautiful for his own good, inclined to bite first and ask questions later, and apparently in love with me. I didn't say he was clever. This. Gingell tapped a finger on the book's cover. It had been sitting on the coffee table until this morning, when someone had brought it into the kitchen and left it on the kitchen island. Probably Zero to make a point. "This is a problem." "Tell me about it," I muttered, flipping open the cover board as if to check that the name was still actually there, ready to give me a nasty case of the willies every time I saw it. It was still there, all right. Still gave me a horrible chill to see it too. Ruth Walker. It was a name that was never supposed to be written down, and given what I now knew about the world of humans and the world behind that, I found myself wishing it never had been written down. A bit too late to say that now. I was the one who'd written it down after all. It's no good crying over spilt milk, but when you're the one who's done the spilling, is it okay to kick yourself in the shins retrospectively? How bad is it?